Screams echo through a stone chamber that was never meant to hear mercy. A woman lies strapped to a wooden bed, her wrists shackled above her head, her ankles bound below. Her breathing is fast, shallow, and desperate. She knows what comes next. Iron cranks sit at both ends of the bed, cold and indifferent. Executioners place their heavy hands on the levers. They turn once, twice, slowly. Her body reacts before she can even form a cry. The stretch is subtle at first. A strange pull in the shoulders, a pressure building in the hips, the spine lengthening vertebra by vertebra. They turn again. Muscles coil like twisted rope beneath her skin. Her legs tremble uncontrollably. Her ribs lift and strain against the fabric of her dress as if trying to escape her own chest. Enlightened science did not build this machine. Hatred did. Fear did. Power did. This was not a device of quick execution. It was a device of demonstration designed to show the world exactly what happened when a woman dared to challenge a crown when she stepped outside the carefully drawn boundaries of obedience. The torturers speak among themselves, arguing over who gets to crank next, not because of duty, but because they want to witness the breaking point. Her height increases an inch, then another, a final inch that feels like a lifetime of agony. But death does not arrive by snapping bone. Not yet. What kills first is hope, the terrifying realization that the human body can be pulled far beyond what nature ever intended. This was called the limb expander. History calls it something else, a quiet executioner of inconvenient women. Fear is the oldest law of empires. Across medieval and early modern Europe, crowns were worn like loaded weapons. Every ruler lived with a suspicion that enemies surrounded them, ambitious nobles, rival claimants, and sometimes their own subjects. High treason wasn't simply a crime, it was a direct assault on the very existence of the monarchy. To question the ruler was to question the divine order of the universe itself. But treason had a particular flavor when the accused was a woman. A man who opposed the crown might be seen as a political enemy. A woman who did the same was treated as an abomination. She had violated two systems at once, the hierarchy of the throne and the hierarchy of gender. Many accused women were not plotting wars. They were wives who whispered forbidden truths, messengers who delivered the wrong letters, servants who overheard the wrong secret. The punishments were engineered to send a message: obey, remain silent, know your place. The limb expander served exactly that purpose. It did not aim to simply extract information, it aimed to erase identity, to pull apart dignity inch by inch. Where the standard rack was brutal, the limb expander was intimate. Its slower mechanism forced the body into unnatural extension, highlighting fragility and turning the human form into a display of suffering that spectators could measure with their own eyes. Picture a bed, rectangular and unforgiving. Simple wooden planks polished not for comfort but for efficiency. Now imagine it rebuilt as an instrument of precision agony. The limb expander wasn't large. It didn't require the space of a full torture chamber. It could fit into a solitary cellar or a courtroom basement. At the head of the device, a circular iron crank was mounted to thick wooden supports. Chains threaded through rings locked around the wrists. Each twist tightened the reach of the arms. At the feet, a second crank, heavier, was designed to pull not just the legs, but the entire lower half of the body. The two cranks did not turn together at the same speed. That was the genius and the horror of this machine. On a typical rack, both ends might pull evenly. Bones snapped sooner. Death arrived faster. But the limb expander extended the agony. Executioners turned the upper crank slowly, one notch at a time, forcing the shoulders to rotate past their natural limits. Then they shifted to the lower crank, adding stress to the hips and spine. The body became a battleground of conflicting forces. First came the stretch of ligaments. The fibers that hold our joints together would elongate like pulled threads. This could add an inch to a person's height, sometimes 2. In rare recorded cases, 3. Then the cartilage began to tear. Soft tissue unraveled with a sickening, crackling sound. Victims sometimes heard the sound of their own joints separating long before the true mutilation began. Blood vessels burst beneath the skin, purple bruises spreading like ink on parchment. Only when the machine pushed the human frame beyond elasticity did the spectacular violence occur. The shoulders dislocated, the knees were wrenched from their sockets, and the spine, stretched into near invisibility, finally surrendered. Ribs separated from cartilage. Arms tore slightly longer. The torso thinned as if the body were being sculpted by hell's own hands. No quick release, no reprieve. This machine didn't want to kill swiftly. It wanted to dismantle a person. The most terrifying truth, a victim could remain alive through almost all of it. Conscious, aware, feeling every slow centimeter of their body losing its identity. If the torturer wanted answers, they could stop and start again. The body didn't recover, it simply waited for the next pull. When death finally arrived, it was from internal rupture, organs shifting beyond containment, major arteries tearing, or a final dislocation at the neck that ceased breath forever. The limb expander showed exactly how far a body could be stretched before the soul had to let go. And yet, the real cruelty wasn't only in the physics. It was in the audience. Because often these sessions were witnessed, recorded, and applauded by those who claimed righteousness. The monarchy demanded obedience. This machine enforced it with mathematics and misery. Her name was Isabetta d'Aquila, a lady-in-waiting in the court of King Carlo. A life of service, loyalty, and quiet intellect. Her crime, she knew too much. Court whispers say she overheard a meeting, a plot by the king's closest advisors to remove his wife. A queen falling out of favor was nothing unusual. But this time, the queen's supporters fought back. Isabetta did not pick a side. She spoke to no one. She simply knew, and that alone was treason. The accusation came swiftly: betrayal, conspiring with foreign influence, an invisible charge crafted to fit the punishment already chosen. She was dragged from her chambers under torchlight. No trial, no priest, no final letter. The chamber where they took her smelled of damp earth and metal oil. Chains clinked like mocking applause. She tried to stand tall, knees trembling but chin lifted. She pleaded not for salvation but for dignity. They mocked her bravery, called her little dove, promised to make her fly. The first crank turned. She gasped, teeth clenched. Her arms stretched above her head, shoulders burning like fire rolling beneath the skin. Another turn. Her toes pointed downward in a natural grace. She could feel her spine lengthening, every vertebrae protesting. She cried out, not for herself, but for the queen she served. "Do not blame her," she whispered. "It was me, only me." Her captors smiled. Minutes stretched into eternities. Her body followed. The agony became a map, sharp pain where joints tore, dull ache where muscles resigned to defeat. She begged them to stop, not for mercy, but to let her speak. She offered the false confessions they wanted. She promised to sign anything. They did not care. Confession was not the goal. Destruction was. Her height increased 1 inch. Then 2. Her dress stretched tight across a torso, becoming foreign to her. Cartilage snapped. Her scream halted mid-breath, then returned like a nightmare reborn. Her arms elongated until she could barely recognize them. Her hands looked distant, detached from her. A final crank. A pop at the base of the skull. Silence. Her eyes remained open, fixed on the stone ceiling, as though she were staring past it into a place untouched by cruelty. Isabetta died accused, unproven, unheard. Her body was 3 inches taller than when she walked into the chamber. Her story would have ended there, discarded, forgotten, if not for one guard who wrote down her name. Just one. The limb expander was never mass-produced. It never earned the notoriety of other torture devices. It lived in the shadows exactly where those who used it wanted it to stay. Records show only fragments, scattered confessions, missing court transcripts, mysterious disappearances of anyone who dared raise a voice too loud. But one thing is certain, the device worked. Not just in tearing bodies apart, but in tightening the grip of power. Women learned the warning quickly. Speak only when asked. Obey without question. Your life is not your own, not if the throne desires otherwise. Even today, echoes remain. Not in dungeons, but in boardrooms, courtrooms, and homes where silence is enforced by different weapons. Control has evolved. The fear behind it has not. Isabetta's fate, and those like her, remind us that history is full of machines designed to keep women small. But the truth of their suffering stretches across centuries. The limb expander may be gone, but its lesson remains: those in power will always find new ways to pull others apart piece by piece until someone refuses to break. Before we close this chapter, ask yourself, if voices like hers had been protected, what might the world look like today? Would justice stretch further? Would cruelty stretch less? Remember Isabetta. Remember the unnamed. The past is never truly dead. It is just waiting for you to find it. We dig up the secrets they tried to bury. If this story of forgotten cruelty moved you, then you are in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Join us as we uncover more forbidden history, more silenced voices, and more truths that are worse than death. What secret will we expose next? Until next time, stay unbroken.